it's V.
And Maddie, and today we're going to be doing the Bookternet All Star Charity Challenge. This was created by Rachel Marie, and we'll leave a link to her video in the description. It's basically where you talk through a bunch of authors or books and whether you've read them and what your opinions on them are.
For every video that's made, money is donated to COVID-19 charities. And we'll leave all of the appropriate links in the description if you want to check it out and read more about it yourself.
The first author on the list is Ramsey Thomas.
We own both The Hate You Give and On the Come Up, her 2 novels, and this one now has a film, which we are yet to see also, and we haven't read either of them. So this one has been out for 3 years, so like, no excuses really. I think I do really want to get to this. I really want to get to it. I feel like I've been in the right reading space. I've been reading loads of books I've really enjoyed.
I think it's one of those books that like the moment has never passed to read it.
No,
I feel like
exactly.
some hyped books, like they have a moment in time where if you don't read it then hype dies down, but people still talk about this, so it'll always be relevant. Next is Chihiro Murphy. She's most well known for the Shatter Me series, which I actually read last year and made a whole video on my experience rereading it, but spoilers, I don't have good opinions.
This was one of the first dystopian series that I read because of BookTube when we joined back in like 2013. So I read it years and years ago, and I feel like I can't get rid of the series even though I didn't like it, because it was just such a cultural moment of the time. Everyone was reading it, it was really hyped, and although I don't think I enjoyed any of the books, and I somehow read all 3.
I can't remember what I said. I think it was the second one that I liked the most out of the 3 from my video.
It's more of like just a little BookTube memory. It just encapsulates that time. You read it for the first time with our friend Sarah, right?
Yes, we did a readathon together, so that's
so cute.
This is also a book that kind of kick-started the whole like renaissance of YA trilogies getting second trilogies, or like a 4th book.
All the things we were reading like 6 or 7 years ago are coming back now
and are having a rebirth.
Reboot, yeah.
I do actually have the 4th book, and I was going to read it after reading the trilogy again for the first time, but I feel like I felt kind of burnt out. But I do want to give it a try because I was always more interested in what happened to all of the characters afterwards. And from like the 20% I did read, it was like wildly different than what I was expecting.
The next author is Leigh Bardugo, and she's most well known for 6 of Crows and also her first series, Shadow and Bone. I reread Shadow and Bone, and I got like halfway through Siege and Storm, the second book, like maybe a year and a half ago. And I really liked it. Like, I forgot that I enjoy fantasy because I read so much contemporary, but fantasy used to sort of be my thing.
Staple.
But now I just don't read it as much anymore because there are so many that are lackluster. But Shadow and Bone is just so rich of a world, and the writing, Leigh Bardugo's writing is beautiful. And then 6 of Crows is just like a feat. It's great.
I actually don't feel that strongly about the series. I read and liked Shadow and Bone. 6 of Crows, probably my most controversial opinion is that I didn't like it, and I DNF'd Crooked Kingdom, even though people say that that's even better than 6 of Crows. I don't think I could bring myself to be invested in it. I think it just confused me. And I don't really know why. Like, that's not Leigh Bardugo's fault. Like, so many people love the book, that's a me thing. Like, fantasy has never been what I'm automatically drawn to. So if I ever read it, it felt like I was reading it because B was reading it, or because lots of other people said that they liked it.
Again, I think I like these books because I have the memories of the times that we like spent together when we were at university. Met Leigh Bardugo twice when we were at uni, right?
Yeah, because we saw her with Rainbow Rowell as well.
Yeah, she did a signing for 6 of Crows. Next we have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I got an arc of this at Yalk a couple of years ago, and I was really excited to read it at the time, even though I hadn't enjoyed any of Holly Black's books prior.
I think I really associate Fae and fairies as characters as like very early T and B reading tastes, because you loved the Wing series by April and Pike, you read like the Julie Kagawa Iron Knight series. Like, Fae was a lot of what you read, so to see you go to a Fae book, and you love Darkest Part of the Forest.
Oh, how could I say I didn't? It's because we don't own it. That book is everything.
Yeah.
Wow, I
need
to
buy that.
Oh my god, I loved that book.
And I liked that one as too,
that one's
actually.
really good. So, okay, I was excited for this on the offshoot of The Darkest Part of the Forest. I forgot it and I loved it, so people need to get on that one. But I didn't enjoy this. I think I just don't care about villains as main characters. I don't care about morally correct. I know everyone's like, yeah.
I realised that really early on when, and I guess I'll talk about this a bit later because it does come up, but like the Cinder series by Marissa Meyer, when they did Fairest, which was like the villain side of the story, I was like, no.
It's not that those characters aren't good, but to me they're just not like as enjoyable stories. I just didn't like the twist of it, but then a lot of people really enjoy the second one and say that it's better than the first, but I just trust my own gut now more than other people saying, you should read the next one, so I think we're way past just reading one book in the series and then feeling obligated to read the rest. Yeah, exactly.
Next is a book called The Bone Witch. I think I've got this on my Kindle I remember BookTube talking about it a lot, but haven't read it. Yeah, I do.
I remember it happening,
really
but I don't
iconic.
remember it being, like, popular.
No, but I think it was on a lot of people's TBRs.
Because
So
the cover
maybe
was pretty.
Yeah, and maybe that's a reason. So no, haven't read this one, don't have any opinions. Next author is V. Schwab, and this is another author that we've got to meet. She was super lovely in person. We actually have a video of, like, her whole discussion. Yeah. She was actually talking about Addie LaRue at that time, which is, like, her next
book to come out.
Like, most recent release.
I'm waiting for that one for years.
Yeah.
So she's just really lovely. Her writing is gorgeous.
I've read this Savage Song, and I read it, like, as part of our read all day, so there's actually a video of me reading this. Or maybe it was like our very first weekend readathon. I remember really liking this. I think I said it had Twilight vibes, unexpectedly, which is a good thing. That's a compliment for this book. And then the Darker Shades of Magic series, I haven't read the final one, but I think, again...
It's been too long now.
It's Crooked Kingdom syndrome, again, like, I just accidentally DNF it because I don't care enough, not because it was bad.
I love this series. I have the book signed. I just... adore the second book in this series so much. I got her to sign, I don't know if, have I got a tab in it? Yeah, I do. I got her to sign my favourite page. And my favourite scene. Right, well, reread it's in order, I think.
Reread might be in order. The next author to talk about is Marissa Meyer. She was huge for the Lunar Chronicles series when we first started BookTube. This is one of my favourite series in existence. I think it's just so masterful, like how all the characters come together, how you never lose sight of characters from previous books, like they're still very prominent, whilst still having like this title character be the focus.
This is like one of like staple Maddie reads, like when I think of the collage of books about you, like Cress is in there.
Yeah, Cress is my favourite in the series. I love her and Thorne's relationship. I love basically all of the relationships in this series, actually. It appeals to like a childhood version of me that liked magical girl things, where like each of them had like a boy that was well suited to them.
This is Caleb and Cornelia vibes,
very
100%.
It encouraged me to read a lot of other fairy tale retellings. I did like a whole project about it for my A-levels. Saying I'm invested in this series is probably an understatement. It's probably one that's like, do a reread.
All of these are making me think, like, of all of the moments that I felt really just, like, absolute pure joy reading them. All of the character dynamics as well. I'm just, like, thinking of moments like, I'm getting the feeling of, like, when I read fan fiction, just thinking about this a bit.
And they've recently redesigned all the covers, so you can see the beautiful character art, and I'm thinking, should I invest the money in rebuying this series?
Maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe I will actually reread it with the new covers. Oop. Also, the fact that these books are massive and I still wanted to read them, I think that just speaks to how good they are, because I was like...
Nothing puts me off more like a 400-pager.
Yeah, and Winter's like 800 pages, so... Next author is Adam Silvera. We have one book from him, they both die at the end, and we did have the history...
Is where you left me.
That's it. I read this for a read all day that we never posted because I only had 80 pages left and I DNF'd it.
You're like, not worth
I didn't care enough, sorry.
And that's just it, moving on.
Yeah. Next author to talk about is Cassandra Clare, author of the Mortal Instruments universe.
What is there to say, really, other than just like, it's just not to my taste. I don't think I explicitly have anything against this series. I feel like people have a good impression of this series in general.
I think the whole fandom for this is a precursor to the Sarah J Maas fandom, because there's an equal number of people. Yeah, there's an equal number of people that love this series as hate this series. I remember reading it in 2013. I think we watched the film first and then read the books, and it was so exciting to find something that was so long, like 5 books, and they're meaty. I liked the idea of being with characters for that long, and I'll always remember the fact that we bought 2 copies of City of Heavenly Fire. It came through Amazon Prime, got it the day it released, and we just read it that day.
The whole day, yeah.
I've tried to reread it since. I think we reread it with Sarah during our first year of uni, and I never got to the 6th book, even though that was the one that I probably would have enjoyed rereading the most. I tried to read the other series, Infernal Devices series, hated that.
That's garbage.
Hated that so much.
Like, that one is bad. Even though people like that more than the Mortal Instruments, no. I just couldn't do it. And when I say it's bad, I mean I personally don't like it. I'm scared to say it's bad as opposed to I don't like it, because people can't separate
the two
their
things,
thoughts on it versus the book, and it's just like, it's just not to my taste.
I think I was way too sentimental about these characters that I didn't care. I wasn't actually invested enough in the world.
Right, yeah.
To 100%. Have that carry through to other series.
But I think since reading fan fiction, I really understand why people read and enjoy these books that are like, how many has she got, like 10 or 15 or something in this series?
Yeah, it's a lot now.
I understand why you keep coming back to it, because you know what you're going to get. It's never different.
Yeah.
And that's all you need, really, just guarantee of a good time.
Yeah.
So if that is what Cassandra Clare is to you, that's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
But she just isn't that to me.
The next author is Taylor Jenkins Reid, who wrote The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and, more recently, Daisy Jones and the Six. I think those have probably been the most hyped books, just generally on this community. Like, you can read anything and you'll like them. Or
apparently.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
No, I haven't, but it is on my TBR. I want to read Daisy Jones more than I want to read Evelyn Hugo. They're not YA, they're like adult books,
okay,
but I think there's like a lot of crossover appeal for some reason.
Okay.
That I can't explain, but everybody loves these books.
Next author is Laini Taylor, and she wrote The Daughter of Smoke and Bone, the series, as well as Strange to the Dreamer.
Another author we've had the pleasure of meeting.
Yeah, I just love her. I've psyched myself out for doing a reread of, well, both of these series, to be honest, so many times, but then I just think, oh, too many things on TBR that are new to read, and I put off reading it, even though I know it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
I haven't read this since I read it the first time, and I was desperately waiting.
Have you never done a reread?
I know.
That's odd.
And I waited for the third book, so
Yeah.
that would give me an indication of what
When
year
you're
I read
ready.
this.
You also haven't read Years of Nightmares, have you?
No,
Even
I
though
don't
you
even
really
own
own
it.
No.
I don't own it.
We should buy that for you.
Yeah.
Because Strange to the Dreamer was a great read. I liked this one too.
Yeah.
Daughter of Smoke and Bone is another classic. Maddie reads 2 books in a trilogy and gives up.
Gives up, yeah. But I feel like this used to be one of those books that was in my like collage of things that I liked.
Totally.
But I've kind of forgotten it now. But I definitely want to read this again. This is a fabulous piece of like artwork. It's a masterpiece, is what it is.
Next is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. We did read this book because it was so hyped and thought it was nothingy.
Yeah. I just didn't care. I think it's because sci-fi isn't really my genre. I found the media, the way it's told, actually difficult to get into. Like, there was no way to connect to the characters.
Entirely mixed media is not right
For
for
me.
me. No. I think you do need something more gritty, because it always felt like I was missing something.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't smart enough to put together what I should be inferring from these
Yeah.
documents.
I mean, it did something. It did something. That's undeniable that it did something to the community. It had an impact, and there
But
were,
did it-
3 books?
That's such a shame that, like, the form of it overtakes the story. Like, if someone was to say, oh, this series, you'd be like, oh yeah, the mixed media
I think
one.
something goes wrong on the ship, that's all I know. But as I said, space sci-fi isn't really our thing, so
No.
we
Why
were
did we
really
try?
just reading it for the hype. The next book is Scythe by Neil Schusterman, and this is one of the books that was like really hyped on BookTube just before I sort of dipped. So it was like the last thing I remember thinking, everyone likes this, I should read it. So we have it, and I think now maybe it's a trilogy and maybe it's finished.
It's all done, yeah.
So that's what a good time to start, I suppose. Apparently the second book is better than the first, and it's always a good sign when you hear that. So I am interested in reading this, although it's blurbed by Maggie Stavater. It's just one of those things where like fantasy isn't what I just go to pick up, but then whenever I do, I'm like, oh wow, this was really transporting.
The next author is Sarah J Maas. We read The Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book. Did we read the second or not?
I got like
halfway.
200 pages through, and then the third book came out, and that was
thing.
ooh,
That was
and
a
then
thing.
I was just like, bin.
And then with A Throne of Glass, I read 3. Did you read 4? Did you get up to the
I
fourth
think I
one?
read 4,
Yeah, and then
Again,
No.
bin. That's it. We'll leave it at that.
and then the next one, Ember in the Ashes. I remember it being big hype, and I remember Christina Horner talking about how she didn't like it.
2015.
That's ages ago.
That's ages ago. That is genuinely ages ago.
So I remember people talking about that like it was yesterday.
I think it had split reviews at the time, but I think
Yeah.
overall people enjoyed it.
I think it's because there was like a rape scene
Yeah.
that people were like, ooh.
This is just reminding me that I need to get back on fantasy.
The next author is Seanan McGuire, who is an author we have heard about because of her Through the Doorway
Yes.
Doorway, something, that we're not going to read.
No,
Maybe.
I wanted to read the first one because apparently it's got an asexual character.
What I remember the concept being, like, if someone was to explain it in one sentence, was like kind of,
Kids Go to Narnia, wasn't
yeah,
it?
it's like the PTSD of kids that have been to fantasy worlds can no longer get back.
I love that concept. Like, I think that's really strong, and they're only short, so
Yeah.
I do want to read it, especially because the first one apparently has an ace protagonist. It's a US fantasy, and I've never seen it in a UK bookshop,
Yeah,
so
hard
it's
to get
just
access
like...
to. Next is a book called The Poppy War, and I remember Riley Marie doing a video about this and talking about it, how much she liked it. I didn't really hear much about it other than that, but it was enough to know that I wouldn't. It's not in my wheelhouse.
Yes, just fantasy isn't really our thing. And this is mostly fantasy authors.
And
Apart
then
from...
this last one, who is Jenny Han, and they want you to talk about To All the Boys I've Loved Before, but her first series, The Summer I Turned Pretty, was one of our first YA series, and I did a video where I reread that, so I'll leave that in the description. And probably like her peak for us is the Burn for Burn series that she did with Siobhan Vivian. That is the
very
good stuff.
That is good. But To All the Boys I've Loved Before, it's just not really my aesthetic of contemporary. Like, it's very cutesy, super low stakes, and I can't invest in that. I like a deep personal growth kind of story. So it didn't really touch on any of the things that I was particularly interested in. It was more of like high school drama, which I think like I've sort of moved past as a reader now. Lara Jean's character is very like naive or immature in style, so she reads a lot younger. It's kind of like a middle grade YA bridge book. And it's all about a girl who is sort of like desperate to have a boyfriend, which could never be me. So I don't think I related to her on like any scale. But it's cutesy. Like the vibes. You reread it just for the vibes. Yeah, and I've actually read the whole series. Like I remember reading the third book. Definitely didn't need to exist. That was just cute for no cute
reason.
Sake.
Yeah.
Cute for cute sake.
So I guess we'll just keep watching the Netflix movies slowly deteriorating quality.
I'm invested in it so much as one of our favourite YouTube channels, Pretty Much It, do commentaries on those movies, and so I will watch the movie only to watch Eric and Jacob talk about it. That brings us to the end of the authors and books we have to talk about. A lot of fantasy, a lot of US authors that we don't really read anymore. Like this list would have been perfect for us maybe 3 years ago, maybe 5 years ago.
But it's good because we've read the books. There's not a lot on this list.
But we just don't... How many of these books or these authors, if I hadn't read them, would I pick up now?
Very true.
Very few.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to our rambles about books gone by, reading times past. Let us know your opinions on any of these books, if you read them now. What was the most recent one you read from this list?
Thank you everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.